Hello folks, this is Birdsong back with you. To my law students, I'm known as Professor Birdsong. I'm an academic, but I also write humor books about criminal law. I used to be a federal prosecutor, that's why I know a lot about criminal law. My latest humor book is called Professor Birdsong's 77 Dumbest Criminal Stories. There it is. The fabulous Miss M is running the camera. Now she's getting a shot of this. You can get a copy of this free book from me if you email me. I'll tell you the email address after we finish this little segment. Do you have it, Miss M?
Got it.
All right then, good. Well, I've been working on some new stories. I've been reading stories in the past from the 77 Dumbest, but I got a few new ones here that I've been working on. Listen to this one. The first one comes from Arizona. Right back to jail you go, you idiot. A Phoenix man was just released from county jail on drug charges. He then ran laps around the facility to celebrate his freedom. Then he tried to carjack a truck belonging to the jail. He was arrested when police saw him on surveillance cameras trying to jumpstart the marked jail truck at its loading dock. What an idiot. This next one comes from California. Me, Tarzan, you, Jane. A man who claimed to be Tarzan was arrested after he climbed a tree and tried to get into a zoo's monkey exhibit. The shirtless man, plastered in mud, had climbed about 20 feet into the tree at the bird exhibit at the Santa Ana Zoo. He was apparently high on meth, police say, when they arrested him. These are all true stories, folks, all true stories. Now let's see. I have one here from Delaware. It's apparent that this lady wants to hold on to her youth. Former Baltimore Ravens cheerleader Molly Shattuck was sentenced to 2 years of probation after pleading guilty to raping a 15-year-old boy at a vacation home in Delaware. Shattuck, who is 48, collapsed to her knees in the courtroom after she was sentenced and wept as she apologized. She must register now as a sex offender. The teen victim's parents said that Shattuck should be in prison. As a matter of fact, the teen victim was a classmate of Shattuck's children.
Oh my goodness.
Shattuck, the young man, told police that Miss Shattuck began an inappropriate relationship with him that culminated rather in sexual activity around Labor Day of this year. In 2005, Shattuck became the oldest NFL cheerleader in history up to that time when the Ravens selected her for the squad on her first tryout. Now those are some stories you probably didn't hear in your regular news, but it's my job to find these stories and bring them to your attention. Now, the fabulous Miss M, who's running the camera there, wants me to read some of my other stories. I wrote a book about a year and a half ago now. This is a weird criminal story. It's all about women, nothing but women. And women do some interesting, very interesting things. I'm going to read you maybe one story here, maybe two. We'll see how much time we have here. This first one comes from Louisiana, folks. The headline. We wonder why she had to get naked. A woman got into a taxi one afternoon in the small town of Covington, Louisiana, and demanded that the driver take her to Michigan. We did not know why she wanted to go to Michigan, and we don't know where she wanted to go in Michigan. Michigan was more than 1,500 miles from Covington, Louisiana. The taxi driver refused to take her anywhere. They began to argue. And then she completely disrobed, took off all her clothes, leaving them on the side of the road, and slid into the driver's seat of the man's taxi and raced off in it. The taxi driver, of course, called police, who caught her after a brief chase. We strongly suspect she was impaired in some way. Do you want another one, Miss M? Do I have time?
Yeah.
Well, we have a similar story from Utah. We never learned why she had to get naked. One bright, warm, sunny afternoon, Miss Sylvia, who's 33, stole 2 cars and led police on a wild chase, all while she was naked. Sylvia was already naked when she came upon a man out on a lonely Utah road who had been hanging roadside advertising signs advertising his business. Without any warning, Sylvia stole the man's car and drove off. The businessman immediately used his cell phone to call police, gave the description of her and the location of where they were. 2 police cruisers rushed to the scene. They spotted the car and began chasing Sylvia. Then, as officers chased her, she got tricky and bailed out of the stolen car and began to run on foot. Both officers stopped their vehicles and gave chase to her on foot. Sylvia then speedily doubled back and jumped into one of the empty police cars and took off before crashing it. The entire incident took only about 15 minutes. When Sylvia was caught, she was given a blanket and placed under arrest. Again, nope, we never learned why she got naked. Isn't that something? Well, folks, those are some of the kinds of true stories that I collect. I'm Professor Birdsong. You can get your free copy of my 77 Dumbest, the ones that I put up before. I've got an address for you. That address is what, Ms. M?
It's profbirdsong@gmail.com. That's profbirdsong@gmail.com.
Very good. Also, what can they do? They can see some of my stories on my website, which is
www.leonardbirdsong.com.
How about that? And finally, if they really want to see more stories, they can always go to my blog. What's that address?
www.birdsongslaw.com.
Good. Very good. That's why I keep the fabulous Miss M around. She knows how to read these cue cards. All right, I'll be back with you next week for another installment. I hope you enjoy these little stories. I have fun collecting them. And I'll see you soon. This has been Birdsong signing off.